Hi, everybody. I'm not Jim Hoover. Jim Hoover's out of town this week, so I'm filling in having practice. I'm going to be president next year. Welcome to everybody. And I think we'll have a pledge and doorway test with Donna Sparrow.
I would believe that to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Should have this memorized, but I'm nervous.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you very much. And now we're going to Stephanie for the break.
I'm sharing my administration in the light of the conflict we're currently seeing in our world. Let's remember the value of balancing common ground and different ground. He was called filthy because his skin was dark, unintelligent because he could barely speak English. When he arrived in this country, his place in a special class for immigrants. A few of his teachers saw him in the way he expressed himself through his drawings, through his view of the world. He would soon master a new language. His family moved here from Lebanon and had many struggles and challenges and tragedies for their life. He's persevered. He believed in love, he believed in peace, he believed in understanding. He was very outspoken when he attacked hypocrisy and corruption. He believed in the beauty and the power of women, especially mothers. They are a source of love, mercy, sympathy, and forgiveness. He would later champion the cause of women in emancipation and education. He believed that safeguarding the rights of others to be one of the most noble things of human beings. And he wrote a poem to new immigrants. Here I am, a youth, a young tree whose roots were plucked from the hills of Lebanon, yet I am deeply rooted here, and I would be fruitful. And he said, share this with the founders of this great nation. His name is Khalil Gibran, and he's primarily known for his book, The Prophet. Published in 1923, he would sell tens of millions of copies and be the third best-selling poet of all time behind Shakespeare and Laozi. And I will share this excerpt. Let there be spaces in your togetherness, and let the winds of heavens dance between love, between you. Love one another, but make not a bonded love. Let it rather be a moving sea between the shores of your souls. Fill each other's cup, but drink not from one cup. Give one another of your bread, but eat not of the same loaf. Sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone. Even as the strings of a lute are alone, though they quiver with the same music. Give your hearts, but not into each other's keeping. For only the hand of life can contain your hearts. And stand together, yet not too near together, for the pillars of the tomb stand apart, and the oak tree and the cypress grow not in each other's shadow.
Thank you. And do we have any visiting Rotarians today? Yeah, your name is.
All right, hi everybody, I'm Roger Singer, and I am working on getting out of my red badge.
Oh.
I'm a member of the Wednesday Club, and I want to thank the group. This is the group with Doug helping us. I'm at Grocery Outlet, and many of you come in July and stand at our front door and help us with our Independence 200. So looking for that again this year. But thank you. Thank you.
Oh, we're delighted that you're here. Thanks for joining us. And do you have any Rotarians with us?
My name is Jerry Lawrence.
Hi, Terry, welcome. Okay, we're going to do some announcements. I have a couple from Jim. He was asked to ask you to please go in and review your information in DAC CD, you know, that word was the DAC TV. Thank you, DAC TV. I wrote it wrong. Also, please remember to do your green card 2 times in a lie and turn it into me. Take it home, put it in your pocket, bring it back. We'll do it 2 or 3 more times, and then if you haven't submitted one, I'll make one up for you. And please, although we didn't just do it, remember to use the microphone as much as possible. I happen to have a significant hearing disability, and as soon as it's not on the microphone, I can't hear anything. And so even when you say, I'm not loud enough, so that would be great. We'll pass it around. Gina Marie's gonna make a quick announcement because we've been asked to remind people where the tabletop and 50-50 draw, where those monies go.
Okay, so the 50-50 drawing, the half that the club keeps, goes to Polio Plus, so our club makes a donation to the Polio Plus, fund for those monies. And then any other donations that you give for Happy Bucks, or throw down on the table, if you haven't specified something for it, it goes to the club, and it goes to do all of the work that our club does, so administration of the club, it also goes to projects, it just goes into our general funds, for the club.
Okay, I got a couple announcements, I may forget one here. First off, the high school still needs volunteers for mock interviews. I think that dates went out in the Navigator, but I'll also try to remember to send an email out to everybody with the link. So you can go there, most of you I think already know what that is, mock interviews. If you don't, you can ask me. Also currently, the club is involved with a fundraiser of auctioning yard art for the Hillcrest Veterans Village housing project. Got a couple more days on that, and then it's over, so please consider going there buying stuff. John Jones might be our best customer. I think I might have to actually deliver all your stuff, John, thank you. Appreciate that. And then Porch Fest is gearing up. I have posters here, some of you have signed up to put posters out throughout town, so come see me if you're here, and we'll try to organize who's going where and whatnot. And set aside the date, the Porch Fest, so you can all volunteers can get on that day, which is June 15th. Thanks.
Thanks, Deb.
Lynn wasn't able to be here today, so she asked me to give an update in regards to the Interact car wash that was supposed to be this weekend. It has been canceled due to rain. They have rescheduled it. It will be next Saturday, May 11th at the South Les Schwab on Union Avenue. And of course, they say next weekend it's supposed to be about 80, so a perfect day to get your car washed. So I wanted to give that update. Also wanted to give just a quick update in regards to shoes that fit for the Boys and Girls Club for the extra funds that we had available. They've gotten all of their shoe orders in. It's gonna take about a month for me to receive the shoes. As soon as we do, I'll get it out, or as soon as I know it's on its way, I'll get it out, and we'll see about getting out there and be able to put new shoes on 49 kids at the Boys and Girls Club.
So I'm here for Greg. He asked that I make an announcement that this Saturday is the last day to turn in your blue bags with cans and bottles, no wine bottles. Just up here. Please have your bags more than half full because the bags themselves cost us 50 cents, so it doesn't make any sense to do half full. And so far, we've raised almost $140 in donations. Thank you.
A reminder that the Performing Arts Center Gala is coming up May 18th. If you haven't got your tickets, now's the time to do it. Thank you.
Anyone else, Sally? Did you have an announcement?
I'm gonna put mine in the Navigator.
Ah, very good, thanks. Okay, well, I'm happy to have Tommy Drake come up and introduce our speaker. And I'm pretty excited as Grants Pass Pharmacy today. Just a quick blurb, during the pandemic, I remember being at Save On Pharmacy, and it was like being at the airport. I was number 25 in line for takeoff. And there was one person up at the counter and people coughing, and so I called them because I'm obnoxious and I could see the lady way up there, and I said, hey, I'm number 25 for takeoff up here. Do you think maybe you have another person work? Oh, she was mad at me. Anyway, I did the service at Grants Pass Pharmacy is great. I'm happy to make the move.
Yes, I think the service is great too, and that's where my husband and I always got our shots for COVID. So It's my pleasure to introduce Michele Belcher today. She has the Grand Pass Pharmacy there with the soda shop. My daughter worked there years ago. And her parents initially ran it and now she's doing it. And so she's a second generation pharmacist and an alumna of Oregon State, the Believers, right? I'm a doctor. Anyway, that's okay. And she used to be a member in our club before a lot of you that are here now were here. She was here. So, and she might come back because she's not so busy anymore. And she was the president of the National Community Pharmacists Association. And during that time, she ended up back in DC and got to go in the White House and meet President Biden. I think he was the president then, right? Yeah. So anyway, she is the recipient of the 2022 OSPA, that's Oregon State Pharmacists Association, Pharmacist of the Year. And I can tell you, she's always been more than willing to help Malcolm, who has all kinds of drugs all over the place. Anyway, she's passionate about assuring the survival of the small pharmacy, which that's why we're there. So, Michele?
Fun to be back and see a lot of familiar faces from a long time ago. And yeah, think about coming back. So. PBMs. How many of you have heard of the term PBM? Can any of you name a PBM? Yeah, I think, yeah. So PBM stands for Pharmacy Benefit Manager. And you may have heard of CVS Caremark, Express Scripts, or Optum. And those are important. I guess let's first back up. Let's talk about how they came to be. In the 1970s, as computers started, mainframes taking up entire rooms, thinking back to that time. Pharmacy benefit managers started to be able to adjudicate claims between the pharmacy and the insured, so the payer. We think that, so whether we have Motor Health, Cross, or Cigna, or Humana, or whoever you have, in between that is the pharmacy benefit manager. And they would adjudicate, basically our computer talking to the plan's computer, coming back with what your copay was going to be for your prescription. So they were very necessary. But pharmacists didn't have the foresight to see is that we might need to have more guardrails set up for this. Could we be taken advantage of? Could we as pharmacists, owning businesses, could patients be taken advantage of? Could plans be taken advantage of? And that's what we didn't have the foresight to see at that time. So fast forward to the early 2000s and really even 2015, as we have all seen across the country, our drug prices and our copays increase astronomically. The PBMs have continued we literally for the last 20 years, I've gone to Washington DC every year with other independent community pharmacy owners from across the country to try to legislate for some type of transparency for these pharmacy benefit managers. We're transparent. I show all of my books at any time. If the board of pharmacy comes in, if the DEA comes in, if whoever comes to look, I have been able to show them all of my transactions. That's not the case with PBMs. And the interesting part is in those first 10, 12 years of talking about pharmacy benefit managers, once we started seeing what they were doing and what we were feeling as independent pharmacy owners, we would try to contract with them. They have what are called take it or leave it contracts. So you get a copy of the contract of what the offer to pay you is. And there's no negotiation, it's a take it or leave it. So if that means that they're offering to pay you $10 below what you pay for the drug, you have to take that. So as that has continued to escalate, when we would go back and talk to the legislators, of course, people would look at us like, I see a lot of you looking like, that can't possibly happen in America. I mean, what free competition and, small business, how could that possibly happen? Well, fast forward to the mid-teens. What started happening is we started seeing big insurance companies and these pharmacy middlemen that were starting to buy each other. So some middlemen bought insurance companies, and some insurance companies bought these very profitable pharmacy benefit managers or PBMs. And when we want to think about some of those relationships, when you hear Cigna, think CVS Caremark. CVS Caremark is the number 6 on the Fortune top 10. So Apple is ahead of them. What other, United Healthcare is ahead of them by 1, they're number 5. But Google, Microsoft, they're all smaller in terms of, so just to give some idea of how large and profitable these companies are. And then the last one, so Optum and United Healthcare is Optum when you hear that, and United Healthcare, when we may have, if you were paying attention the last 69 days, yesterday was testimony of the head of CEO of United Healthcare testifying both in the Senate and in the House about the Change Healthcare cyber attack. So they paid over $22 billion in Bitcoin to be able to, free the ransomware, and still they're barely operating in terms of, so Change Healthcare processes, adjudicates claims mostly for physicians and physical therapists and chiropractors across the country. That's a whole nother sidetrack that we could get down, but they literally own so many parts of that, we're calling this vertical integration of the healthcare system, where these plans and the pharmacy benefit managers are now owned, as a single subsidiary or entity, and it's quite frightening, because now the dollars that may be taken from the plan are actually, it's all the same dollars. So they also own their own mail order pharmacy, all 3 of these. And so what they're doing when they process a claim for one of my patients is they're able to look at all of my patient data. They're able to look at a drug that they may see as a very profitable drug. And the reason a pharmacy benefit manager would be able to see that as a profitable drug is because pharmacy benefit managers are able to negotiate with our drug manufacturers and try to, in order to get on the formulary for that plan, then the manufacturer has to entice them with a rebate or a kickback. So that rebate then inflates the costs of our prescriptions here in America. Why do we pay the most of any country, and yet there many are manufactured here? We're paying the most because, and it's estimated now to be 60 to 70% of the actual wholesale price of that medication is inflated to compensate for the rebate that is going to go back to the pharmacy benefit manager that now is also the payer or that insured. Those 3 that I talked about, CVS Caremark, Express Scripts, and Optum, they process 85% of the prescription claims across the entire country. And so the impact that that has when we're talking about requiring, say, brand name medications to be on a formulary when a generic is out. That we had one a medication last week with generics. So just on the day of release, there's $135 savings if we can purchase the generic drug and the patient pays that versus the brand name. I received 3 notices from 3 different health plans yesterday saying that they will not cover the generic, that they will only cover the brand name. So again, why would that be that your plan would only cover a brand name versus a generic? Is if they're getting a rebate from that drug manufacturer. So if they own the, if the plan owns the PBM, then that doesn't really matter. It's all going into the same bucket of money. Who doesn't own? When we think of state health plans, state Medicaid programs, when we think of, smaller, just even employer groups trying to self-insure, we don't have that ability to be able to, we as just individuals, my husband's a school teacher, so we have the, district insurance. That insurance, we're subject to have to deal with the medications that are on that formulary. Again, that formulary is set by people who are negotiating to be able to keep the kickback. The other part that they do to independent pharmacies is they're able to come back and do a clawback. So a clawback, as most of us would think, is coming back after a transaction. So after I've processed the prescription, after my patient has paid a copay that was dictated by the insurance company and PBM, and I paid my invoice, so let's say the medication is $20, we process the claim, we'll pay $30 between the plan and the copay. So that I should be making a profit of $10. They can come back 6 to 9 months later and claw back money and take $40, $50 for a claim. Under the ruse of patient care in terms of how you rate your star rating on patient care. What's been able to be proven over the last 8 years now is that is not transparent. They can't show that where we or any other pharmacy in America is not complying with what we're supposed to do. And so by not doing that, there's been a lot of states that have looked at auditing, especially on state Medicaid programs. So there's over 20 states that have already done Medicaid audits to look into this, thinking then that means that we as the plan, we as the state have paid too much money to the pharmacy benefit manager. So where is that money to us? What type of dollars does that mean? We're talking to the millions and millions of dollars to a state like ours. Oregon's already done an Axios study and been able to prove that they were paid underpaid and that the PBM kept money that should have been the state's. So who suffers in the end? Really, there's most importantly, every single one of us when we're acting as ourselves as a patient. I mean, every patient, every time you take a medication, every time the PBM tries to steer you and not give you freedom of choice to be able to go to whatever pharmacy you want, that you must go to their mail order pharmacy, for instance, and that's happening a lot in the Medicare Part D space. So Medicare age patients, Part D is the part for your prescription plans. And many patients are scared, so they don't have a choice. And so there are a lot of things that receiving your medication through the mail works for many, many people. But there are a lot of people that it doesn't work for. Somebody who might have had a relationship with us for many, many years and wants to be able to continue to know that they can call me at any hour of the day or night, ask a question, or have me come down and fill a prescription, or whatever it is. Those relationships don't exist with the mail. If we package medication, if we home deliver that medication, if I go to their house to vaccinate them. During the pandemic, mail order pharmacies were here in our community to vaccinate. But I gave over 5,000 shots during that time. There were many people, whether or not they, traded at Grants Pass Pharmacy or not, that was a role that I felt was very important for myself. And being the last independent pharmacy in town, it's frightening to me to think about what would happen if we're not able to survive. And patients, every single one of us deserves choice to be able to choose where we want to go. And that's where we're united as the NACDS, the National Association of Chain Drugstores, Rite Aid and Fred Meyer and Walmart, and we're all united on that front. They also want, not all of them are tied to vertical integration, some are. But the majority are not in terms of the grocery stores and and others, so they also are fighting for that right. And right now, when so many things are not being done in DC, the one thing that is, because this is a bipartisan issue, patients, doesn't matter what political side you stand on or sit on, it's a bipartisan issue. And out of the Finance Committee, which is headed by our own Senator Whiting, and then also ranking member Senator Grego out of Idaho, both from states that have many, many areas of rural population, that when they use an independent pharmacy, they may not have another pharmacy for 100 miles in some parts of Eastern Oregon and parts of Idaho. Pharmacists nationwide have always been the most accessible healthcare provider for any patient. On average, patients see us at least 4 times a month. And now as we age, many of us realize that that's actually coming true. Many of us didn't take medications for a long time until we started having some of maybe our hereditary factors kick in. So what's going to happen when we aren't there to be able to notice that Mrs. Jones was not talking correctly? Frank, who was in yesterday, today when we tried to call him to check on him, he wasn't, he didn't answer the phone, and that's unusual. I mean, those kind of relationships can't be replaced. And I worry about that. I definitely want to leave some time for questions too, but right now, what's happening in Washington, D.C. is Senate Finance passed a transparency bill unanimously. And think of the last time you heard anything be voted on that was unanimous out of either side, and virtually the same type of bill on the House side also passed with bipartisan support. So they're both sitting, and as always, there's an issue. It may be pushed to the end of the year, which we're really trying to push. I was just back there 2 weeks ago to BC. We're really hoping that if some of the, critical issues that they are certainly dealing with right now can, become at least somewhat resolved, that we'll be able to get this bill passed. Because it's really the survival of independent pharmacy across the country. On average, right now, there's 1 independent pharmacy closing across the country. So we have 19,000 independent pharmacies. Take a state like Georgia, very similar size, Georgia has 750 independent pharmacies, still. Anybody venture a guess how many independent pharmacies are in Oregon? 50. And that's it. So we're at 65. A year ago, we lost 37. So just a year ago, we were at 90. Last year, we lost 37. So far this year, 6 have closed. It's virtually impossible to see any on the coast anymore. I don't think we have, this Reedsport closed just this year. So I don't think that we have any on the coast independent pharmacies. It's frightening to think about. Eastern Oregon is still trying to really hold tough. We have some small families whose children went to pharmacy school and they come back to the community and they're fighting and trying to hang in there, but it's frightening. Patients have the right to be able to choose, and that's ultimately who suffers is patients who, again, many have had these long standing relationships with individuals in pharmacies, you know, and it's very sad to think about those who are living. I would say that, you know, since the pandemic, pharmacy has changed, and you've all talked about that in terms of long lines. I mean, we even have lines. And the difference is, as the pharmacy owner, I can look out, or my pharmacist that works with me can look out, and as soon as we see 3 people in line, okay, we're gonna pull extra staff off of whatever they're doing to help with line. So we can have 2 or 3 people on the line. Why is that? Well, first of all, the pharmacy's closing, and the first big one that happened in our community that we all felt was Weimar. Weimar closures across Oregon. That's one of the things that, by God, got Congress to understand. I mean, all of our legislators really touted the impact on our community and on the state of Oregon in terms of Weimar was in many, many rural countries or counties across the state. And that was directly because of the clawbacks that happened. That was the one and only reason that they closed their pharmacies. They could not survive. When we talk about, just to put in perspective, the amount of clawbacks that were taken last year from my pharmacy were over $350,000. I mean, mind-boggling. There's no other business practice that you can think of where you can be, I can show the cost of goods. Take away even all my overhead, my professional fee, all of those things, take those away. I have a cost of goods for that medication. And they can pay me under the cost of that medication. How do you survive? And that's really what we're looking at and why it's so desperate. And that was one of the things, unlike any other conversations that I've had in the 20+ years I've gone to Washington, DC, this year, knowing many of my colleagues will not survive. It's been a very hard year for us. I feel like I'm a good business person, but it's making it hard. How do you do good business is not being paid less than what you pay. No. And so it's really for the first time having to turn down some contracts since the take it or leave it. I feel like, okay, I can lose how much money on these prescriptions and hope that I don't feel more. The other thing that they do in these contracts is, interestingly, is they put a gag that if you are paid below cost, you can't refuse to fill that prescription based on the fact that you paid under cost. And again, if a home builder was building a home and was offered below cost and they were expected that they had to take that, I mean, we would think that that was just insane. It's one other example about I was referring to the brand versus generic, and when they are requiring the brand over a generic. When they do that, they're pushing patients, when we look at our Medicare patients, they're pushing them into the donut hole faster. First of all, that first, whatever their deductible is that they have to pay out of pocket, they're maybe meeting that faster, but that means that they're also pushing them into that donut hole portion of their plan. So the government is gonna have to pay sooner. So we're, again, it's taking advantage, and that again is one of the things that as we've been able to prove this through some of these state audits. That the government is starting to realize, legislators are listening. Maybe that means that the Medicare, you know, is paying too much too soon because of the practices of these firms. So it's really a quite convoluted, challenging thing to talk about in a 15 or 20 minutes, but.
Can we take some questions?
Absolutely. Yeah, any questions?
Well,
Yeah.
Marcia,
Oh, sure.
let's pull it out. Thank you, that was excellent. We're gonna try something new where that she's gonna come to you with the microphone. But I want to say thank you. I didn't know all of your awards. We're really fortunate to have someone of your caliber in our community. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hear your passion. I hear your involvement in our community, and I want to thank you for that. This is such a subject that can't really be broached in such a small amount of time, so I have really just one question. And that is, I'm a small businessman here. When talking to you, what is your solution as you go forward? Do you have younger people coming in, or how difficult is it for you to continue in your business? You're not going to be around forever.
No, I look at several of my colleagues that I graduated from high school and then college with, that are now retired. Yeah, I still having too much time with my patients. I mean that, I guess many of us say, well, we aren't enjoying it anymore, but I really do feel that trying to make sure that the patient is taken care of. And that, I mean, this country is based on small business, and we need to make sure that small business survives. That's where the national work came in. Don't really like being involved in like the political part, but nobody's gonna stand up for my occupation like I can. And so that's where I realized it was a responsibility that I needed to take. And so by passing some of this legislation and creating transparency, I feel like that's gonna give hopefully the opportunity where I just want a level playing field. I don't need to be a millionaire. I just need a level playing field where I can pay my staff. I mean, between the 19,000 independent pharmacies across the country, we employ 285,000 people across the country. I employ over 20 at any given time. During the summer, it's more because of the kids working at the soda fountain. But I just want us to be able to survive. I've had to bring on a business partner. What are the two things with small business owners that we can control? We can control our payroll, and we control how we purchase. I mean, to make sure that we're purchasing the best that we can. I couldn't do that unless I became bigger. How do I become bigger is to become partners with other independent pharmacy owners, so that we can work together and be able to purchase at a slightly better price.
You have a cooperative.
Yeah, it works as a cooperative.
I recently got a prescription and I went to the pharmacy and it was, the lady said, do you know how much this is? And I said, no. And she said, it's $299. And I said, and that's through my insurance? And she said, yes. And I said, would you just check to see what GoodRx will do? it was $100. $100.08. So where did that almost $200 go?
So again, when we process to any of those, including GoodRx, if pharmacies that take GoodRx, because GoodRx is also keeping some of that, they're acting as a PBM. They're owned by a PBM. The plan, again, is charging, so they're dictating the price. And then they're able to charge the plan, and even when they're owned as a single entity, they're getting to keep that other part of the money. The rebate on GoodRx, they're getting the rebate from the drug manufacturer instead of the PBM getting that rebate. You as the patient, and that's where Mark Cuban's Cost Plus has come into play. So Cost Plus is looking at your generics, because brand name products, we can't, there is no, the rebates, they won't give those rebates directly to pharmacies. So when you look at Mark Cuban's, he's publishing the cost of the brand name, excuse me, the generic products that he's able to carry, what they are, plus X amount for the dispensing fee and that. Mark has actually worked with the National Community Pharmacists Association, and we've been in trying some talks, because what he quickly realized is he needed brick and mortar. He can't do the mail. Amazon can't, if independent pharmacies close, Amazon has said they don't have the bandwidth to be able to supply prescriptions to all. So we need to figure it out. And so there are talks between Mark Cuban and our national association to be able to set up something where independent pharmacies are getting a fair dispensing fee for that cost of the, the cost plus. And so that's where we can't contractually, we can't tell somebody to not use their insurance, but you should always ask, what would it be if I paid cash? And we can give you that price, but you have to ask that. I can't encourage you not to use, because now that insurance companies own PBMs, they don't want you to not use that, because then you're not, if you do a cash only, then they don't get their rebate.
Is Mark Cuban of the Dallas Mavericks?
Yes,
Yeah, that's sharp.
yeah, it's the
Okay.
same guy.
Okay, can you, I don't know anything about Mark Cuban in the
And I.
drug world
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
regarding medication.
So he started something called Cost Plus. And when you look up, it's a mail order, but again, he's realized that he needs brick and mortar pharmacies, so that's where he started. And the National Community Pharmacists Association also started conversation with him. They work with us, and he would pay for dispensing.
So, I'm Josh Powell, All Care Health, and, I have had the pleasure of working with Drew Fast Pharmacy for years. I just want to say that during COVID, Drew Fast Pharmacy, you in particular, stood up and vaccinated hundreds of people that were completely vulnerable. It wasn't Fred Meyer, it wasn't Walmart, it wasn't CVS. When Bimart closed and we had thousands of people who didn't have access, Grants Pass Pharmacy stood up and supported it, not CVS, not Met, and not, these other big chains. This is why it's so important that we maintain and protect our rural, small, independent practice folks, because they care about the community, not the bottom line. And why we are 1000% supportive of trying to figure out ways to get creative, to be able to fully fund them at a higher rate of reimbursement than these other large firms, which quite frankly, I'm glad that they're kind of helping out a little bit, but at the end of the day, they've got another agenda too, which is to consolidate and have a problem. We want to try to find solutions, and I will say this, and this is the one piece that I think it's important that as we discuss this, that there is a gargantuan monster in PBMs. They are out there, they are putting the pressures down and milk everything. But PBMs were built to fight other gargantuan monsters, and that is big pharma. Big pharma to give you an idea of how powerful they are. The most lobbyists in Oregon are actually pharmaceutical lobbyists. Yet for a state that has no pharmaceutical manufacturer and no pharmaceutical headquarters, yet they have the most lobbyists. That's the type of thing that people that are out there fighting. And the problem is that I think our small pharmacies are getting stuck as these two gigantic monsters start to fight. So I'm with you. I want to make sure that we start to find really creative ways to make sure that pharmacies like yours and other small rural pharmacies, because they're the backbone of the healthcare delivery system at the end of the day. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle.
Hi, thank you so much for what you do. My own personal experience with your pharmacy is that I take two different thyroid medications. One covers T3 and one covers T4, because I don't have a thyroid. I went into your pharmacy and was told that the generic that was being offered for my T3 medication was actually T4. And so I needed to take the brand name because the generic was not the generic for the medication. And the pharmacist at your pharmacy told me that. Also, I appreciate it. The other thing about the clawbacks is that I think perhaps some of the problem lies with the system, because I work in a profession where Medicare can come in and ask to audit a percentage of my charts. If there is an error in a percentage of that percentage, they can then ask for money back on all of that percentage of all my charts. And given that Medicare doesn't really pay that much to begin with, then, and I've already provided the service, that means I'm now not providing the service that I provide for free.
Yeah. Thanks. Yep. Finish. But I have to talk. There are about 5 more people who want to ask a question. Margaret was on the list. Do you mind, would you wait afterwards for a few minutes? And thank you, that was just fascinating. We also have sergeants now and the card draw, and Greg Allard is up, first time to be sergeant. Let's welcome him.
Okay, to keep it brief, I want to say that on this day in history, in 1932, the city of Baltimore reversed a law and permitted people to see movies on Sunday and for husbands to kiss their wife in public. On this day in history, 30 years ago, Nelson Mandela was elected president. And they had a peaceful transition. But I hope we have that this coming November. Okay, happy bucks. I have 4 quarters. Makes $1. Happy bucks for my wife, to commend her on helping out with the fundraiser that Doug has organized. That's for the yard art. Thank you, Mary. I heard we're supposed to start small. So other happy bucks.
So let's hold the mic. Yeah, great. Full heart. There you go. Thank you.
Oh, yes.
I'm happy, got back from Rome and an IO.
and Fields, Oregon. On our 44th anniversary. We went on the Oregon Back Roads Discovery Route, sections 1 and 2. And put about 1,000 miles on our little Jeep, going over dirt roads and seeing lots and lots of wide open spaces.
Thank you. Back here.
Hi, Doug wanted me to give happy bucks for, there's still some asparagus over here on the table, so help yourself. And I wanted to say, I listened to the city council meeting last night. I think it went until like 11 o'clock or something. It was crazy. I think Doug's his issue was he's getting his property in Hillcrest annexed into the city, and that part went through, so that I'm happy about that. Yeah.
Other happy ones.
So the other part of the inspiration that I didn't share is that those words were Fritz's and my vows to one another when we got married. And at the end of the month, we too will be celebrating anniversary. Maybe we can get together with you and Bob and go and explore open spaces. I also wanted to recognize Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. I echo what Josh says. You are an incredible partner both to the community and to the businesses in the community. So thanks all of you for all that you do.
Okay, I totally agree. Michelle, you are wonderful. And I can say that because I had kids in school. So I see, thank you. I had no idea that all this was going on. And so giving us the awareness is wonderful, but it needs to go much further than this Rotary. I'm seeing that it should go to a piece in our newspaper. There should be an awareness in this whole community about what's going on. I had no idea. But I also not only am praising our choice of speakers today, but also I just wanted to let all of you know that this morning at working with Mint this morning and feeding our homeless people, a lady came up and we were feeding her, you know, our casseroles and so on. And she was really excited. And I said, what's going on? She said, I'm next in line for Foundry Village. That's coming out about shivers. I just thought that was so wonderful.
Nice.
Hi there. I have 5 questions. Oh, it's a 10. My son from Texas is out. He's been here all week, and it's just been delightful. You know, he's a veterinarian. So I get to hear all of that side of it, and he's very active with getting dogs and animals better.
Nice. I just want to say thank you to the speaker. Happy bucks for that.
All right.
I got 11 happy bucks because I decided to sell my 911 Porsche.
Oh.
It's a 2005 and it's beautiful silver and it goes like hell.
All right, we have another.
And we have one on Zoom.
Oh, I'm happy today's my son's 52nd birthday, and he's now a 20-year cancer survivor. Oh.
Leonora.
Yeah.
She's here.
Did she talk through it?
Nope, she's just let her go.
Yeah, so I have so much to be grateful for, just the speaker, the knowledge, Foundry Village, Mint. There's just so many wonderful things. I have 20 happy bucks.
Hey.
I think we should go to 50-50.
Yes, draw a card.
Who's leading?
Do we have a deck card?
Me?
Yeah.
Michelle draw. Yeah, let's get Michelle to draw.
The speaker.
There. Got the three of spades.
3 of spades.
Thank you, everyone. What a great meeting. Let's give Greg a round of applause. Greg invited back to be our sergeant, and thank you, Michelle, for a very interesting presentation, and I hope you'll take some questions afterwards. Thought for today, I just want to remind everyone what President Jim said, which is that, you know, in Rotary, do what you can. Sometimes you're flush when you've got some money, sometimes you can go work on the project, sometimes you can't do anything at all. So please try not to feel pressure. Just do what you can and know, I mean, this is really a fun group. No disrespect to the other groups. But if you can. Compare the laughter. Yeah, take transfers. Anyways. I got it. Oh, I had this up there and I just made it.